says he feels sorry for Prince Harry because his wife is a lot to deal with. Trump says he hates the way that Harry dealt with the lady.
Have you ever witnessed someone's carefully constructed image start to crumble? Not because of some earth-shattering revelation, but thanks to a single moment of brutal honesty wrapped in a joke? That's exactly what happened when Colin Jost stepped up to the microphone on Saturday Night Live. With a mischievous smile and a few sharp lines, he turned Meghan Markle's media persona into the punchline of the week.
One of the conditions of Trump's new trade deal with the UK is that Harry and Meghan have to go back.
For quite some time, Meghan's public journey has been presented as the ultimate modern romance. An American actress who captured a prince's heart, turned her back on the rigid world of royalty, and set out to redefine what it meant to be a duchess in the 21st century. But beneath the interviews, the best-selling books, and the polished photo shoots, something always felt slightly rehearsed.
There's no way President Trump would accept that deal. He's called Meghan Markle nasty.
When Jost began to speak, it was as if he ripped away the final layer of varnish and showed everyone what lay beneath. His first remark was quick but effective. He joked that President Trump had arranged a new trade deal with the UK, and the only thing Britain wanted in return was simple: keep these two. Crowd erupted. Within seconds, clips of the segment were spreading across social platforms like wildfire. That offhand line set everything in motion. What followed was a relentless set of observations that didn't just poke fun at Meghan's fame, they dissected it. Jost highlighted the glaring conflict between her desire for privacy and her constant presence on every platform imaginable. He joked about her Netflix specials, her podcast, and her venture into upscale jam. But the comment that landed the hardest was about the ghost of Princess Diana supposedly telling Meghan to chill out. It was the kind of line that left the audience unsure whether to laugh or squirm. In that moment, it felt like the entire country shared the same uneasy realization. Meghan, who had worked so hard to script her own story, suddenly looked like just another celebrity caught in a web of mixed messages. When Jost called her a wannabe Diana with Wi-Fi, it wasn't just a throwaway insult, it was a reflection of a truth people had been too polite to admit. What happened next was just as telling as the laughter. The influencers who once raced to her defense didn't say much. The journalists who had praised her courage in long opinion pieces kept their thoughts to themselves. Even the networks that had invested heavily in her brand seemed hesitant to weigh in. The silence said more than any statement ever could. Public opinion was already sliding. Surveys in the UK revealed that Meghan's favorability had dropped to new lows. In America, where she had always found a warmer reception, people were starting to lose interest. They weren't necessarily angry, they were simply tired. Through years of interviews and exclusive reveals, audiences felt like they'd heard it all. That weariness wasn't because her experiences lacked meaning, it was because they'd been repackaged so many times that the impact had dulled. Her early power came from the sense that she was speaking candidly. But when those revelations turned into profitable projects again and again, it began to look like a calculated strategy. So when Jost cracked that she was the only person who escaped adversity by signing a Spotify deal, it struck a chord. If there's one thing Meghan has in spades, it's determination. Over the past 12 months, she's introduced her American Riviera Orchard brand, hinted at launching a line of wellness products, and begun developing another documentary series about her life beyond the palace. She's positioned herself as the voice of modern, intentional living. But the optics are difficult to ignore. While she promotes simplicity, she enjoys life in a massive Montecito estate. While she insists on privacy, she releases hours of footage chronicling her daily routines. That contradiction has always lingered, but it took one comedian standing in front of a live audience to crystallize it in a way that couldn't be spun away. Meghan never released an official response to the jokes, but anonymous sources claimed she was furious, calling the segment cruel and sexist. Observers countered that anyone trying to dictate the entire public conversation might be better suited for a quieter line of work. Clip racked up millions of views almost overnight. Then came the hashtags, #PRPrincess, #FakeDiana, #MeghanFatigue. Unlike most viral trends, they didn't disappear in a day or two. Instead of a surge of celebrity defenders, there was a weary sort of acceptance. People weren't ganging up on her out of hatred, they were simply over it. At the same time, Kate Middleton carried on exactly as she always had, attending public events, visiting charities, and staying silent. She didn't need to issue clarifications or release podcasts to manage her image. Strangely enough, that silence began to feel more genuine than any heartfelt monologue. The more Meghan explained herself, the more appealing Kate's quiet composure became. That contrast became its own story. Meghan had worked tirelessly to shape herself as a relatable, forward-looking royal. But each new brand, each new heartfelt project only made people suspect they were watching a performance. And when the public senses a show rather than sincerity, comedians don't have to stretch the truth to get a laugh. Behind closed doors, entertainment executives were taking notes. One industry strategist put it bluntly, when a network comedy show can lampoon someone so directly, and the audience applauds, it's often the first sign that the public is ready to move on. Once credibility is lost, no amount of beautifully edited specials can bring it back. That's why this moment mattered so much. For once, there wasn't an argument about who was right or whether Meghan had been treated unfairly by the monarchy. There was just a shared acknowledgement. The realization that, after all the headlines and documentaries, people were finally ready to see the story for what it was. And buried in all that reaction is a lesson too big to ignore. No matter how sophisticated your image strategy, you can't force people to see you exactly the way you see yourself. You can release as many inspirational quotes and glossy videos as you want, but sooner or later, audiences notice the inconsistencies. Colin Jost's monologue didn't create those flaws, it merely lit them up for everyone to see. Proved that behind all the high-gloss storytelling, there was something thin and overexposed. In the end, it showed how easily a single moment of unfiltered humor can upend a brand that took years to build. So maybe the real question isn't whether Meghan can rebuild her reputation. Maybe it's whether she'll ever convince the public that it was truly authentic to begin with. In a world where everything is packaged and sold until it feels empty, that's the one thing even the best PR team can't buy back. Even as the chatter quieted down, the impact of that single SNL moment kept spreading. In media circles, some editors admitted privately that the skit had finally broken a kind of unspoken agreement to treat Meghan's image with kid gloves. Once the first domino fell, it became easier for other outlets to question whether her brand was built on authenticity or just clever marketing. The sudden shift in tone wasn't lost on audiences either. People who had once defended her felt a subtle permission to roll their eyes. Not because her experiences weren't valid, but because the constant retelling had started to feel hollow. The more Meghan tried to reintroduce herself in a new light, the more viewers sensed that the story never really changed. Meanwhile, social media became a battleground of memes and commentary. Images of Meghan's jam jars circulated with captions like "healing but make it luxury," and clips from the SNL episode racked up millions of views. For a generation raised on irony and viral moments, it was almost inevitable that the humor would outlast the controversy. Behind the scenes, entertainment executives and brand managers started recalculating the risk of associating with a persona that now felt polarizing. When a public figure becomes the subject of widespread parody, it's no longer just about reputation, it's about whether the audience still wants to engage. And by the looks of the reactions, many people were content to sit this one out. Harry, too, has not escaped the fallout. Once celebrated for breaking away from royal protocol, he now often appears as the supporting act in Meghan's ongoing saga. Every new interview or book release adds to the sense that the couple is stuck replaying the same grievances. Even sympathetic viewers have started to wonder whether the focus has drifted too far from purpose and landed squarely in self-promotion. Through it all, the royal family has remained conspicuously silent. No statements condemning the jokes. No efforts to defend Harry and Meghan from the public's fatigue. If anything, their refusal to engage has reinforced the perception that they have chosen to rise above the drama. In a strange way, that restraint has only made the contrast more glaring. But it's important to recognize that Meghan's influence is real. Her advocacy has sparked conversations about mental health, racism, and institutional rigidity. Those are significant contributions, and dismissing them outright misses the point. The issue isn't that she used her platform, it's that the platform started to feel like a stage set with the same script playing on loop. That's the paradox of modern celebrity. When you open up every detail of your life to public consumption, you can't control which parts resonate and which start to repel. What was once inspiring can, over time, morph into something people roll their eyes at. It's not fair, but it's part of the trade-off. In the days after the SNL segment aired, Meghan's team reportedly worked overtime to remind the public of her charitable work and positive contributions. But the reaction was muted. The headlines didn't rally to her defense, and the hashtags didn't disappear. If anything, the attempts to shift focus felt like more evidence of careful image management. And maybe that's the most revealing part of this entire story. It wasn't a scandal or an exposé that turned the tide. It was a comedian's monologue, delivered with a casual smirk, that finally made everyone question whether the fairy tale was ever as genuine as it appeared.